Hello, my name's Yasmin and I'm here to talk to you or to give you just a little brief history on Caribbean cuisine or Jamaican food, as we would say, because that's mainly what I represent here today. During the 16th century, the Spanish basically colonized the island of Jamaica. In fact, a lot of the West Indian islands, but Jamaica in particular, which the land really belonged to the Arawak Indians, who were indigenous and who just lived on the land simply. They survived mainly on sort of fish and the fruit and vegetables that were grown there. With the advent of the Spanish coming, they tended to bring a lot of their foods with them and different food preparation ideas. This went on for some time until the British then came along and battled with the Spanish and then won supremacy over the islands, and they then became the overlords. And with that, they brought along slavery, and especially the people from West Africa. And those from West Africa brought along all the different foods, the yams, the ackee, which is now the national dish of Jamaica. But they brought along a lot of the different foods, sugarcane, which then, of course, they then had to labour in the fields because the sugarcane market became the biggest in the world. You couldn't get sugar anywhere unless it came from the West Indies during that time. As time went on and more people were introduced to the country, either through slavery or indentured slaves, with the Indians and the Chinese who brought the rice and like the chow mein and their own style of cooking, but done in a Jamaican fashion. There was also the Indians, who had already been colonised by the British anyway, who then brought along their huge array of spices, which were then incorporated into the Jamaican way of cooking dishes. There's just a little bit of everything in there, but really the Jamaicans have made it wholly their own. In many ways, but you can find in Spanish cookery, they say rice and beans, we say rice and peas, but it's the same sort of thing. They say fish escovitch, we have fish escovitch, but ours is just a lot more spicy and a lot more pungent and only eaten at certain times of the week. Curries, like the curry goat or curry chicken, which again have a huge Indian influences. There are a lot of like steamed, like callaloo, ackee and saltfish. A lot of these things are steamed or quickly fried, which brings in that kind of Chinese element of the way that they cook and prepare their foods. So you will find in a lot of European and including British, with the Caribbean food, you will find a lot of commonalities within the food and flavours that you will recognise and some flavours that you won't recognise. But there is still that similarity that some people find a great deal of comfort in. As in America with the slaves, the Jamaican people were literally just sort of given the scraps, and out of that they then created their own dishes, which are still eaten today. And the sort of traditional cooking practices in many of the rural areas are still quite prevalent today. The food really over the years has just developed into this thing that everybody seems to want. Everybody seems to want to eat jerk chicken or ackee and saltfish or rice and peas or plantains, whereas we usually say plantains. And just so many aspects of the Caribbean lifestyle that people, that they want to adopt it, and especially through food. You know, food is always the thing that brings us all together. And all the different islands, although I'm talking about Jamaica, but all the other islands, all the food is similar, but they just do different things, and they will have different food items that are familiar to their island. You know, in Barbados you might have flying fish, for example. In Trinidad you have rotis, which are the flatbreads. In Jamaica you have jerk chicken, but all the islands do jerk chicken, but it's all different. So, you know, the experiences are different, but we are still held by that thread of our cuisine. With the advent of Windrush, when the Caribbeans first came to this country and basically unable to find the foods from their homelands, they brought foods with them. They always did. I mean, you know, that's always another big thing, you know, that when they travelled abroad, they would always bring some sort of food stuff from home to give as a gift. But it was quite difficult, so that you find that traditional Jamaican cooking practices and those who have migrated to other countries purely through the unavailability of all the ingredients and having to make do, you'll find that the foods can be quite different and taste different, look different. But gradually, as things improve with import and export, people are able now to shop. Everything really is wildly available. Although many traditional Jamaicans will say, oh, or Caribbeans, I should say, would say, oh, it doesn't taste the same as back home, or, it won't. You're not really going to get that feeling again, because a lot of those items don't grow here. We don't have the climate for it. So, you do have to just make do and just be a little bit more creative with your cooking to produce those sort of dishes. If you want traditional dishes, then you can look them up online. You can go on YouTube, you can go to your friends' houses, and you can find the dishes as they should be cooked and as they should taste, just to give you a much clearer picture of where they have come from and how far they have travelled from the continent to your table.